hope that you enjoyed the book of consolation the last couple of days. Today we're going to start the next phase of the book. And in this next phase, we get not so much prophecies from Jeremiah. There are a few prophecies in there. But really what we're getting are snippets from the biography of Jeremiah. Just moments from his life, especially in the weeks and months leading up to the fall of the city. Today we're going to read two stories. And they, I think, are meant to be read together. They're a contrasting pair. One is an example of unfaithfulness, and the other is an example of faithfulness. So in the first story, in chapter 34, we read about the coward king Zedekiah who announces liberty to all the slaves. He just, emancipation proclamation. Everybody is free. And then a short while later, he says, never mind, just kidding, and all of the slaves have to go back into their slavery. Now, why does he do this? It may be that he gets some pressure from the people who lost their slaves, and then he buckles under pressure. That would be like him. But I think what's happening is he releases the slaves in hopes that God would approve. And God does say that he did what was right in my eyes by proclaiming liberty. But then there's this moment where the siege of the city lifts. And when the siege lifts, it's like, we won. We don't need to appease God anymore. And so they go back into their old ways. Whatever the reason is, Zedekiah is being fickle, wishy-washy, unstable, unreliable, unfaithful. The second story in chapter 35 is a total contrast to this. In chapter 35, we read about the Rechabites. If you don't know who the Rechabites are, don't sweat it, because in the entire Bible, they're only mentioned here in chapter 35. They are a group of people who live in the desert. They are nomads, and it's possible that they are a family, but I think it's also possible, and maybe even more likely, that they are like a school of prophets that travel together and have been doing this for generations. And one of the rules that they have, that they were given by either by their founder or by their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, was not to consume wine. And for hundreds of years, none of the Rechabites have consumed wine. And so Jeremiah sits them down and he offers them a glass, and they politely decline. So on one hand, you have Zedekiah, who is wishy-washy, fickle, unfaithful, does what God wants when it's convenient, but then he will back out of it at a moment's notice. On the other hand, you have the Rechabites, who are committed, faithful, they are obedient, and they listen. The thing I want you to notice in these two chapters, it's not like one verse or two verses, it's the word listen. In Hebrew, the word for listen and the word for obey is the same word, Shema. So the word Shema shows up all through this, and sometimes it's translated listen, sometimes it'll be obey. But as you're reading through chapters 34 and 35, I want you to notice this red thread that runs all through the chapters, and how some listen and obey and others don't listen and they don't obey. All right, that's enough for me. Chapters 34 and 35 today. Have a great day, and I'll see you on Sunday.